Thank you for staying with us. As promised, we have a guest here in studio, Mr. Rodgers Odima, the founder of CEO Forum, and we'll be getting to talk about the rising cost of living. Mr. Odima, thank you so much for joining us. Now, the continual increase in the prices of food, basic commodities like flour, rice, cooking oil, even tissue, what is causing these increases that you are seeing in basic food commodities?
Yeah, one of the things, of course, is what we call the cost of production. Whenever the cost of production increases, obviously the prices increase. So maybe the thing, of course, like the way you are asking, what is costing, or rather what is causing the cost of production to increase? And of course, you know, the cost of production is a function of the inputs. If the inputs to production are expensive, then obviously the final product or the output will be expensive. So whatever is causing the inputs to increase will definitely cause the product also, I mean the final product, whether it is unga, whether it is cooking oil, also to increase. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know you've mentioned that it's the cost of production that is causing all these commodities to go up. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's a government policy issue or an external issue, like maybe the Ukraine war, that's affecting the increase in prices?
I think, of course, they are both. I think I will say they are both reasons. It's both government, because at the end of the day, in economy, I mean, basic economics, we operate on the principle of demand and supply. For example, if there are many people who need a particular product and the supply of that product is inadequate, definitely the price will increase. So that can happen whether there is Ukraine war or not. Yeah, in other words, whenever there is a shortage between demand and supply, or rather there is inadequate supply, but the demand is high. You know, Kenya population has really increased. We have more mouths to feed. So maybe the question we should be asking ourselves is, why is the supply inadequate to feed, all these, the high population in Kenya? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Small and medium enterprises are having a difficult time due to the high cost of production and high cost of doing business. Mm. Like, for example, people selling mandazis by the roadside, the cost of wheat has gone up, the cost of oil has gone up, but they're still retailing at the same amount of money they used to sell before. So are we seeing that some of these small and medium enterprises will be forced to shut down? Is there any hope for them?
Of course, there should always be hope, Grace. There should always be hope. And as Christians, thank God, even the TV is called Hope TV. There should always be hope. Yet, of course, I'll also add, it is true, you can't operate at a loss. I mean, there's no way you can operate at a loss. You can maybe do it for 1 week, 1 month. But when it comes to the second, third month, or more than that, you'll definitely have to close. So we are hoping that definitely, like you are rightly saying, the cost of production will be managed so that, like you are rightly saying, the SMEs don't close. Otherwise, if their inputs are expensive, but the customer can't afford, obviously, there is no way that they'll be able to survive in business. But like I've said, there is hope.
Yeah. There has been an uproar this week of people really expressing their frustrations at the high cost of food prices that has been met with a little or no increase in salaries or wages. Are we seeing a time where Kenyans will take to the street to protest the high cost of commodities?
I think Kenyans are very patient people. We have been patient. And my prayer is that demonstrations don't necessarily solve something. So my prayer is that we shall engage the various organs of the government and come up with a solution. And I want to say this, as a Christian, you remember people used to come up with solutions to this kind of scarcity and so forth. Remember, Joseph came up with a solution that helped Pharaoh for 14 years, Egypt for 14 years. Elisha in 2 Kings chapter 7 also came up with a solution, spoke a prophetic word and said tomorrow at this time. So I feel even this is the time we as Christians should actually speak words of hope and maybe also get the wisdom and ask God, what can we do when times are tough like this? But like I said, I think the issue is not just to blindly demonstrate, but engage ourselves. Then there's, of course, the issue of also, if you read the book of Acts, chapter 2 and chapter 4, the Christians came together and shared whatever they had. And the Bible says none had lack. So I think this is also the time, Grace, for us to really come together so that we really see, who is my brother? Is it possible for my brother, my sister to be going without food? What can I do what can I do to solve that crisis?
Mm-hmm. It's an important point that you're saying there, that Kenyans should share with their neighbors, not to see your neighbor starving and you have plenty to share with them. Projections by the Parliamentary Budget Office were that the debt ceiling will reach 8.8 trillion, the amount of debt we have as a country by June this year. Do you feel by any way the increase in debt is affecting the economy in any way?
Of course it does, because remember that debt is not free. There is also a price to it. For example, if you just take a loan in the bank, there is an interest rate. So also if a country takes loans, there is, of course, interest rates. And sometimes a country may find is servicing the loans because there are conditions. For example, if they say if you don't pay us, we may be able to attach one or two of your property, just like an individual taking a loan at the bank. So obviously, there is the more we pay for debts in terms of whatever revenue we have. Remember, the revenue kitty comes through KRA. KRA is the one that collects all the money. Now, you see, it's just like almost a house budget. If more money goes to pay debts than service, the home needs. So that's exactly what may be happening. But we pray that, we'll also find a solution to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What should the government be doing? What are the exact things the government should be doing at this time to kind of cushion Kenyans from the high cost of commodities, the high cost of fuel?
Of course, the critical thing is affordability. What can they do? And one of them, by the way, the question, of course, is normally subsidies. You remember, even with the petrol, we have been having subsidies. So, and these subsidies, by the way, even in the most advanced countries, you find there are subsidies for the farmers, for the poor people. So now the issue is, can our government help in the subsidies, especially for basic products? Yeah, because that is really the question we should be asking ourselves. Yeah, maybe we should have what I call the opportunity cost. Instead of us maybe investing in very expensive infrastructure, can we direct some of this money to subsidies so that actually, what we call the Wanjiko can actually afford, unga, can afford cooking oil and so forth. Mm-hmm. So, the government actually, I don't think should be helpless. There is a way the government can cushion and come up with subsidies that can help alleviate the high cost of production. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We saw about a week ago, Pwani Oil temporarily shuts its doors due to they were unable to export raw materials, and they were blaming it on difficulties in accessing the dollar. Can we tie this to, there are also concerns that the shilling is depreciating. Are these two issues tied in any way?
I agree. It's just whenever inflation is one factor. Whenever the shilling depreciates, obviously that means the prices will go up. So definitely the issue of the dollar, definitely. And you remember, most of the basic products, or rather even inputs, you see, like Pwani oil, they will import palm oil. Now, if they can't afford, or rather the price of palm oil goes up, or even the dollar, like you are saying, our shilling depreciates. That means you'll have to get more shilling to buy the same quantity of product you used to buy. And obviously that will affect the cost of production, like you were saying earlier. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is the government under pressure to collect more taxes from Kenyans? Has anything changed about how it's collecting its taxes?
Well, that has always been a debate. For example, ever since we started the devolution, there has always been a debate. Did we come up with such a big size of government, 47 county governments, so many commissions? Could we have started? And I'm actually one of those people who believe we should have started in phases. We used to have 8 provinces. Maybe we should just have cut them to have 16. Then maybe with the time, as our economy improves, then we actually increase. But of course, I know that's a debate that can't, right now, obviously nobody would want to reduce the size of counties. But some people think actually that the wage bill in the government, or even just the total expenditure, you know, what we call in the business world, we'll call it the overheads, the administrative costs, may be too high in the government and for the government. And maybe if we had reduced that cost, it is possible we may have used that money for subsidy, like what I'm saying for subsidy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned that there is an existing subsidy on fuel, but you've seen a steady increase in fuel prices in the past few months. This burden will go to the consumer. How does the increase in fuel prices affect the normal mwananchi?
Fuel is is an input into the cost of production. And remember I said whenever there is an increase in the cost of production, it affects everybody, even including the common mwananchi. So it will take, you know, you need to transport your maize, you need to transport wherever. So, and when you transport, obviously the transporter will also increase the rate of his price in terms of how much he or she will charge you. So whenever there is an increase in fuel, it actually affects all the other sectors. And that, therefore, you are right. The increase in fuel affects the cost of production, and therefore, obviously, the prices increase. Yeah.
Maybe finally, as we close, what is the remedy that the government can use to cushion Kenyans? We are nearing the general elections. There's always the fear that when the country nears elections, the cost of living goes up. So are we saying that the prices of food will continue to go up even as in near elections, then perhaps steady on after the general elections?
Now, let me put it this way. There are some fundamental things, and that's why sometimes I don't totally agree with our politicians when they promise us after August 9, everything will change or most things will change. I mean, there are still issues they'll have to deal with. I mean, if there are issues to do with production problems in agriculture, in manufacturing, those things will not just go after August 9. They still have to deal with those problems. So I think for me, it's just for us to keep engaging the government, and so that I don't think there'll be one solution that will just solve all the problems. But like we are saying, especially for the very poor, is it possible for us to cushion them? And it has happened in the past. It has actually happened. For example, can we say, if there are other projects we are doing, let's for now stall those projects, subsidize the price of maize, subsidize the price of cooking oil. Can we do that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, those are important points that you've said to us today. Our time has run out. Thank you so much, Mr. Odima, for joining us.
Yeah.
Guys at home, that has been Mr. Odima with us here in studio. We were discussing the rising cost of living in the country. Let's go for a second break here on Hope TV News Watch. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.